Okay, another quick recap. The items we can add into the template on the left here with individual items selected. We can cut, copy, paste, delete, undo, redo over here. Zoom in, zoom out, saving, closing, and testing the template up here. The field list, what's inside the overall document, and the properties of the currently selected item. So that's everything we've covered. Now, let's say you were working with this default template, and probably the most useful thing you want to do is actually either add your custom fields in or get rid of sort of the unneeded fields. So for example, let's say we didn't care much for the venue website here and the chairperson practitioner. We might find that there are one too many fields in the actual service details table. So let's left click, go over into the hierarchy here, left clicking there and scrolling until we see the bit of grey. And I will just go ahead and scroll down to the design of this table and say it's the service details just for sanity. And we know that it's going to be sort of the last row here, and we can just simply delete it with the bin icon. Okay, but let's say I wanted to keep the facilitation type, but I didn't much care for the venue phone or this part here. So what I can do is I can left click on the venue phone, hold the left control key on my keyboard and left click on this one as well. You'll notice that they're sort of both selected here. You know, I could delete the bin icon. Oh, sorry, I could press the bin icon for both of those because they are just the last two table cells. Or I could jump into the properties and pick the delete button from the list of ever-changing controls here, which, you know, might not be your cup of tea, but I suppose this is something that takes some getting used to. I guess these sort of multi select kind of action buttons up here are more for picking multiple items and centering them or changing their layout. So perhaps I will just left click on this and press the delete up here. Or if I've named my hierarchy consistently, I know it's this table 68. So now I do have just the facilitation type here. Now let's say over in the start of the document, there's this thing that I changed the width of earlier. So I'll just drag that back out. Sorry if that was bothering you for a time. But I suppose maybe the flag status isn't too useful here. Let's just say that's an example, because maybe we wouldn't be printing this out if we have this person flagged as someone we can't serve or something rather along those lines. And maybe the Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander status is something we might find more useful in that sort of part of the document. So if we left click on the field list here, it's a good idea to do this beforehand. Basically, we need to find where that information is going to be. Remember to ignore the prefixed bit of text and just look at the end. So, you know, that's a client field. It's present on the client record. So if I expand this, there it is, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander status. So now I know where it is in terms of my data source and which table it's in, the client information. I'll come over here to the flag status, left clicking on it, going into the properties, clicking the X here, and notice it'll just go back to its text because it's no longer pulling information from the database. And I will click the drop down, click on the data source here, and slowly but surely highlight each of these till I see it is the client information, expand it, and I will pick the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander status. So I believe some centers say ATSI status for short, but that's what's plugged into there now. And this is no longer flagged, so let me just left click on the label there and change the text to ATSI status. So that's how to quickly sort of change the information you're pulling through.